Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello, welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the podcast where, yep, you guessed it, you ask Rob and Rob, and we, Rob and Rob, answer. The great thing about property, what I love about it so much, is that there is an endless amount to talk about. It's impossible to know everything, and it's impossible in however many episodes we do to cover every aspect of it. Things are always changing. There's always something new to learn, something new to think about. So this is such a fun podcast to do. What makes it fun is the questions that you send us. We've got loads of questions come in, which is absolutely brilliant, but we've always got room for more, Rob.
We have, and we'd love to hear from you. So, if you've got a question and it's just been bugging you, you'd love it to be answered, well, what better way to get it answered than on a podcast? So, go to your phone, pick it up, dial. Yes, phones can also be used for communication, not just for games. And put this number in, 013 808 00035. That's 013 808 00035. And leave us a voicemail. Or, if you prefer, if you listen to this on your computer, go to thepropertyhub.net/podcast. That's thepropertyhub.net/podcast and leave us a message that way. However you do it, it's up to you. But that's exactly what Jakub did. And here's his question.
Hi, Rob and Rob. This is Jakub. First of all, of course, congratulations on the good job on the podcast. I listen to you every episode you put out. So I would like to ask you a question about leasehold and freehold. What's your view on buying a property, a flat with, let's say, 70 years left on the lease? What's the pro and cons? What would be your strategy or your approach on this type of property? Would you be put off? Will you still see potential gain to be made in this type of purchase? So, and what should we be concerned as investors when we buy a property with a short lease or with some strict rules around the leasehold? Thank you very much. I hope to hear your answers soon. Bye-bye.
All right. It's a very good question. And it's something that you're right to wonder about, because you do have to be careful around this kind of issue. There are opportunities here when it comes to short leases, but it is something that you need to go into with eyes open. The good news first, when there's a property with a short lease, it's going to put a lot of people off, and the owner is going to find it a lot harder to sell. That is good news because it means that there are going to be fewer people competing for it. Therefore, your cheeky low offer will have a better chance of being accepted. The tricky part is in working out what your offer should be, because you're going to have to work out what the property will be worth once you've extended the lease and what it will cost to extend the lease in order to work that out. Once a lease has under 80 years remaining, it gets particularly tricky and a little bit more expensive because there's something called marriage value kicks in, which means that whoever owns the freehold will be entitled to half of the uplift in value that the lease extension generates. So negotiation needs to take place. There's a formula that you can use to roughly calculate the value based on the value now, the ground rent, the number of years remaining, and so on. But it is a tricky business. If you get it right, it can be extremely profitable, but you really must make sure that you're working with an expert or you absolutely know what you're doing, or it can be very expensive.
It can be, and it's not for the light-hearted. Of course, it's a strategy that people execute well and make money from it, no doubt about it, but you can't go into it light-heartedly. You need to know what you're doing, what price you should be paying, and what exactly process and steps you need to take to make sure that this is an effective strategy for you. So a strategy that can be used to get deals, absolutely, but one you need to know what you're doing with. So make sure you spend the time to educate yourself and take the right steps to do that. Now, if it sounds too intimidating for you, or dear listener, whoever you are listening, and you think, actually, I want to avoid that, what sort of lease length should I be going for? Personally, I like to see lease lengths of 125 and above. Because if I own a property for a 25-year period, I've still got 100 years left, which is actually what some new builds are sold at today, which is more than acceptable and won't affect the value whatsoever. So 125 and above, that's kind of the metric I use. That's what I look for whenever I'm looking for a deal. If I can get higher, then fabulous, but 125 I'm perfectly comfortable with. So if you want to avoid it, maybe stick to that range. But if you want to take advantage of it, do your research, and make sure you've got an effective process put together before you move forward with it.
And make sure that you work with a specialist as well. There are specialists out there who offer leasehold advice. Also, search for the Leasehold Advisory Service. Their website's got loads of information on there and a calculator as well that will help you estimate the cost of a lease extension. It is only an estimate, but it's a tool that you can use to maybe help you decide whether that short lease property is worth the extra hassle or whether to steer clear completely.
Now, I have to admit, I've got a soft spot for strategy questions. It's probably the thing I enjoy most in property, and I know, Rob, you're with me on this. Strategy is something we love talking about, and we've had to hold ourselves back here, otherwise it'd be a very long podcast. And that's what makes the summit so rewarding, because not only do we get to hear one person's strategy and offer feedback to them, but actually we get to listen to 16 different investors, hear what their strategies are, what they want to do, give them advice, but also, just as rewarding, is hear what all the other investors think as well. And that's what makes the Summit Day so special. It's not just Rob and I passing on our advice, it's a room full of investors helping each other out, passing on their experiences, and helping other people accelerate their success because of it. And if you're thinking of joining us and thinking, well, I haven't got much experience, you'd be surprised. So many different variables come up. You may turn up thinking that you won't be able to bring much to the table, but once you get there and once you hear about what people are talking about, people in your network, people you've spoken to, recommendations you can give, everyone can provide value in some way or another. So it's a really, really valuable day, and everyone walks away getting so much from it. Now, if you'd like to join us, they sell out incredibly quickly. That's why we don't mention it nearly as much as we used to, because they just sell out now. But just to make you aware that it happens, you can go to thepropertyhub.net/summit and check out the dates for our future summits. And if there are any available, get yourself down, because they don't last long. They sell out months and months in advance now, because we only let 16 people in at once and we only do a few a year. So make sure you check it out. And if you can make it work, get down, because I promise you it'll be one of the most valuable things you can do in property.
And the really cool part for me is that we check up with people a few months later, and it's amazing to see what people can achieve in just a few months when they have the right plan and the right network and the confidence to go ahead and execute. That's always one of the most fun bits for me.
Also, if you're on your phone now and you think, oh, I want to do that, but I might forget, you can text us. If you text Summit, leave a space, and then your email, we'll send you the info. So we can't make it easier for you. If you want more info, text Summit, space, then your email to 88802. That's 88802, and we'll send you the info that way. So there you go. We've got a system for everything.
So that is another Ask Rob and Rob. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't sent your question in yet, make sure you do so, and we will answer it on a future week. And we will, of course, be back with the Property Podcast this Thursday morning. Thank you for listening. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.